Welcome to Cecil TV. You're watching 30 at 6, our weekly visit with newsmakers and from around Cecil County. Before we get started, I'd like to bring in Allison Donnelly and Rob Churnside. Hello, Allison. Hello, Rob.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the show. Glad to be here.
So, how have your weeks been?
My week is going well. As everyone knows, I'm here in Baltimore. Want to give a quick update that anyone who hasn't heard already, Secretary of Health Alex Azar has extended the public health emergency through July, I believe. So that shouldn't come as a shock to anyone, but that means a lot of the restrictions and precautions are continuing.
Schools.
Yeah, and I've been just working around the compound, trying to have the best garden ever. The weeks are going.
Allison, do you think that means the schools will remain closed for the rest of the year?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard anything. I think we will probably get some more information on that this week, though.
I've heard rumors of summer school things happening in camps, and maybe an early start to school at the end of the summer. That's just people talking.
Yeah, we'll see. I've been so impressed with how Cecil County Public Schools is meeting the needs of the times here. And it's Teacher Appreciation Week, so.
That's good.
All right.
Yeah.
So we have two guests this evening. Our first guest is Mike Dixon, who is going to tell us about a pandemic from a different era, and then waiting in the wings is Patti Paulus. So we'll get started with Mike. Hello, Mike. How are you?
I am good, Doug. How are you?
I am well. So, you're going to tell us about the flu epidemic from the early part of the last century, which
yes,
is a notorious. Guess no one's alive who remembers that, and was it at the same time as World War I?
Yeah, that was part of what was going on, Doug. I mean, it was 1918, and this was a dramatic time in the nation and the world and in the country. And here we are involved in a global war. Half of our doctors from Cecil County are off fighting. Something like 9 of our nurses, young men are fighting. And toward the end of the war, this so-called Spanish flu breaks, global pandemic. So the folks who lived in that age faced, especially the healthcare workers and the essential workers, they faced a dual crisis all within a few months. And it was certainly an epic period that anyone alive at that time would never forget.
So what was it like in Cecil County during that time?
So, Doug, as 1918 was moving along, hundreds of young men, the 20-year-olds, the 20-somethings, were off fighting in Europe or were at military camps. Several of our doctors in this rural county were off assigned to the military duties. Almost the entire class of nursing school graduates from Union Hospital had volunteered to go off to war duty. But that was like late 1917 into early 1918. And then, so everybody's watching the war. Sometimes terrible reports of losses on the battlefield come right home to the county, as they would. But then there's this strange new phenomenon that started happening. Around here, it started at Aberdeen Proving Ground. People that summer started reporting some type of strange illness, some type of strange infection, what would become to be called the Spanish flu. And even all around the country, it really started with the soldiers and their mobility. And if you look at it in other places, you'll find out it breaks out in those kind of places. Well, out of Aberdeen Proving Ground, we start having these an unusual prevalence of sicknesses and deaths. The government will move to try to quarantine. They'll set up quarantine areas, try to quarantine the base. That falls a little bit as fall comes on. It kind of falls off the at least the headlines. But then right at the very end of September, it came back with a rapid force. There's about 3 waves of this pandemic for us here in the county. And that very late September into October was just catastrophic. It was tragic in terms of what was happening. And from my standpoint, as a historian who studies these types of things, it's interesting to look how they responded in an era when there were no treatments for this so-called Spanish flu, just as we do not have vaccines at this moment for the current pandemic, national emergency. Now, what we do have that they didn't is we have ICUs, we have ventilators. There was really not much medical care could do in those days, except provide some palliative care, relief, comforting, blankets to keep you warm. They had aspirin, so they could provide that. But they didn't understand viruses at that point.
So it was the public health agencies that really enforced things like quarantines and telling non-critical workers to stay home. And it sounds like, based on what I read that you wrote in your blog, that there was some skepticism about this, but that people generally complied.
Yeah, as best I can read the literature at this point, Allison, this has been the first, 2 months ago is when I started looking into this, was people, our local health department, public health officers were sort of a new thing. They'd better come around about 1880s in Maryland. But there was we had just like our health department today, just an earlier form of it. So the public health board was headed by this Dr. Cantwell out of Northeast. And he moves fairly decisively to quarantine the county. Now, people had never heard of such at that point. And so on October 7th, 1918, the flu had been kind of moving around for a week or so. And it was like we talked today about community spread. It was very, very widespread, and the mortality is stacking up. He actually quarantines the county. So just like we had something similar to what we have today, he will issue an order, shuts down all church services, all public meetings, the movie houses, bar rooms, pool halls, all public assembly, schools, of course. And so then that Sunday, I think that was a Thursday, that he shut down the county and acted decisively. He's head of the state of Maryland. He's the head of the Surgeon General Rupert Blue. That Sunday, this county was like, nobody had ever seen anything like it. The churches aren't open. People are not on the streets, just like what we saw probably in the first weeks of our current emergency. And so they just settled down for about 25 days. It's October 27th that he reopens the county. He announced that the pandemic had passed. And so churches can begin, schools will begin on that Monday, so like October 29th. And although there was a little fussing about it, mostly people didn't understand it. What we have today is internet and communications. You had to depend on print media to provide you information because it was the only thing they had. And he recommends things like face mask, hand washing. He would recognize, Dr. Cantwell would recognize all the procedures and protocols that we have today in place for good public hygiene.
So were there subsequent waves of the Spanish flu?
There were, Doug. After he lifted the Cecil County quarantine, and he's acting as the county public health officer. The state of Maryland came along about 6 days later. The numbers had declined, and our Union Hospital, for instance, had really been devastated. They were hit really hard, the young ladies who worked there. And so, but after he felt after those 25 days, he could lift the quarantine. And about the time winter rolls around, there's a rebound. Now it's not as bad as this first hit, but late December into early January, you see the deaths start to mount up again. So there was a rebound. He does not do a quarantine that time, and it looks like in this county, the mortality rate was up about 30 to 50%. There's something over 100 extra deaths that year, up to 150, as we take in early 1919.
Did they ever develop a vaccine for this?
Not until much later, Doug. In his lifetime as a practitioner, they didn't even understand the concept. They knew about germ. He was a relatively new graduate, so he was schooled in modern medicine, not like the old Civil War soldiers or something. They knew about germ theory, but a virus was something they weren't familiar with. But that's going to take a few more decades of research.
So you were talking about how the county was shut down, how they closed non-essential businesses, we'll say. But speaking of essential businesses, we were talking about the story in nearby Wilmington, the ambulance drivers, and how.
Yeah. So what's that?
Go ahead.
So just like today, we have essential. So just as today, we have essential workers. They had their essential workers, Allison. And before I hit the ambulances, so I don't forget it, the telephone operators. Every town had a switchboard. Those ladies sat shoulder to shoulder, and they had a little panel right in front of them, and they were sitting there plugging away. Well, Elkton had like 7 operators on duty at a time in our little town. Think of Wilmington. The Spanish flu actually knocks out, begins knocking out. So they were worried about maintaining this essential communication service. So you can call the doctor, call the ambulance, and things like that. Northeast switchboard actually goes dark for a couple of days because everybody is sick. Elkton, they faced with the same thing. They brought in workers from Salisbury to provide relief, and then they got the idea they didn't call it social distancing, but they were doing exactly that. I mean, they got the idea that to watch the distance. Up in Wilmington, of course, Wilmington's a big city. It's booming because of the war. This was even more devastating. And the city had 2 ambulances up there, and there simply were just not enough to transport the gravely ill to the Delaware Memorial Hospital. It's going to become Christiana Hospital. And you talk about heroes on the front line, those young ladies, those 20-year-olds who were going through a 3-year program to become professional nurses. Out of a class of about 15, 8 or 9 of those ladies died. And I've been looking, because their story needs to be told again. Union Hospital lost 2 nurses to the flu, or to disease.
I have a question, Mike.
Yeah, Doug.
The ambulances, were they horse-drawn ambulances or were they motor vehicles?
They had just switched out. It's 1918, and they were motor-drawn. But the company that was running them, the fire company, had it horse-drawn before.
Right.
So interestingly enough, so the city of Wilmington, of course, Wilmington's a city. It's got over 100,000 people. It's got all the powder works and all that. It's just booming enormously. They had 2 ambulances funded by the city, and Newark College, the Delaware College, as it was called at the time, had just bought an ambulance the year before. So they take students and they run them up. Newcastle County sends up an ambulance. They just got an ambulance there for Farnhurst. And then the federal government will send in more doctors because the medical staff in Wilmington was either off fighting the war, or they were down with the flu. And some of them gave their lives, doctors and nurses, fighting as they did here in Elkton.
Wow.
But they got through it. And after 1919, you don't see a significant uptick in the data and the statistics. And in another decade or so, Rob, they'll have better treatments and interventions and better diagnostic materials. That's sort of what we're doing today with our shelter in place. The terms they recognize. That was one of the things that amazed me. We use modern terms, but they recognize. They would have recognized all of our concepts. Eventually, when this is over, I'm going to visit the health department and go look at their old minutes and records from 1918 to see what Dr. Cantwell was writing about, because I do think their story needs to be told.
Oh, yeah, that would be great. I look forward to that.
So everybody got better just in time for the Roaring '20s.
Yeah, and the Spanish flu was over. Yeah, I think the Roaring '20s probably helped some guy. Everybody felt good.
That's good. Well, Mike, thank you very much. It was it's a good piece of history. I read an article recently, I guess in the New Yorker, about the impact of pandemics through history, and a lot of major turns of history were influenced by pandemics. Back in Constantinople, some of their major, I guess they lost a lot of power. They lost their influence in the world almost over the pandemic.
We are certainly, Doug, living in unprecedented times, and it will be interesting to see the changes that come about with this.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, until the next time.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Bye, everybody. Thanks.
Okay. So long. So next, our next guest is Patti Paulus, who is as keen observers of Cecil TV know, she is a regular guest at this time. Usually we're talking about First Friday in Elkton. Of course, First Friday has passed, but there's different modes of business and activity in Elkton now. So, hi, Patti.
Hi. How are you guys?
Hello. Great.
Hello.
We're all good.
I'm good. I'm hanging in. You just keep going. The days run together, but you put one foot in front of the other and do your best.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And I stay home. So, for the most part.
Patti, I've been watching your son's he plays the trumpet, his performances on Facebook, and they're amazing.
Right. That's a French horn, isn't it?
Oh, French horn. Sorry.
Yes, it's a French horn. Yes. It's okay. Yeah. That's what he's doing to stay busy and keep they call their lips their chops. Keep his chops working for when he goes back. He's supposed to play with the San Francisco Symphony at the end of June.
Wow.
So we'll see if that's going to happen. But that's what he's doing. Yeah, he is transcribing and creating layers of harmony, and they're really fun. So I'm enjoying them too.
It's a beautiful instrument.
It is. It really is. So yeah. Things in downtown Elkton are, pretty, they're continuing to be. Probably the last time I talked to you, Central Tavern is still doing their curbside pickup, and I think they're busy. They're filling all their slots. I think every day, Tuesday through Saturday. I don't think they're doing it on Sunday. And Elk River, they're still doing takeout Tuesday and fill up Fridays. And people are being very respectful about space. And with curbside to drive up, and Elk River Central just takes it right out to them. So it is working out really well. And we have pallet pickup curbside on Fridays from 4 to 5. So people can order online and then they just pick up. We don't have any foot traffic in the store, and I don't take any money. But if they want to pick it up, we are more than happy to do that. And Spork is doing, I think she's Tuesday through Sunday, not all day. And she has started doing Friday meals, Friday night dinners. And this week is meatloaf. Last week was chicken pot pie, and it was good. And so meatloaf, this is, you just have to make sure you order ahead of time, because she only makes so many. And if you don't get your order in, then you will not be able to participate in that delicious meal. And East Main is open. East Main Cafe is open. And I forget right now. I could look it up. I know Tuesday, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, only from 8 till 1. So you know, I actually was out last Friday, and I saw more cars on the road last Friday than the prior Friday. I think people are getting a little, which is kind of scary. You can like hope that they're all going to pick up food, and not getting together. So we'll see. Showcase may have their show again on Friday, but Lee actually is in the hospital for a brief period of time. And so if they will not have it this Friday, but next Friday they will. But Elk River will probably have their virtual happy hour on Saturday nights. Just check Facebook for those events. They're really fun.
Did they have it this past Saturday?
Yes.
Were you...
past Saturday they had Elk River. Oh, I can't remember who the music was, but Christy McDivitt was on from Northeast Chocolates, and
Northeast Chocolate.
Yes, and Stephen Jennings was on for Brookbend. Brookbend's also doing online orders, and then they're doing delivery and pickup as well. And who else was on? Oh, Scott, the brewer, was on. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Were you on?
I was on three Saturdays ago.
Right, I
gave
saw
a virtual tour of the gallery. It was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I walked around and showed everything and talked about the art, and yeah, it was nice to be asked. Everybody, you know, and probably in all the small towns, everybody, the merchants are trying to help each other. I know in Elkton it's been particularly wonderful. Like Central was giving away gift cards from different merchants, and we all try to support each other by posting and, of course, eating and drinking. So,
of course.
Yeah.
On a low note, is Minnehanes, has Minnehanes shut their doors?
Yes, they did.
That's
They actually were going to shut them the day after St. Patrick's Day, but they ended up shutting on Sunday, I think, because of the virus and distancing and all of that.
Right.
So yeah, it was a sad ending for them.
We missed St. Patty's Day. We missed Easter. We missed a lot of holidays. We're going to have a lot of catching up to do when this thing blows over. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
So, Allison, you mentioned the National Public Health Emergency. So, what does that mean? Do you know what that means by them moving it into July?
So, okay, full disclosure, my expertise, and I won't even call it that, is like Medicaid policy. So I believe it means that a lot of it means that the funding will continue for the efforts that have been going on. So that's really what it means. But it also indicates that that as a nation, we're still people should still be considering it as much of an emergency as it has been. So for public health purposes, it means that there will continue to be money available to states and municipalities for fighting coronavirus.
Okay. All right. Thank you for clarifying that. Yeah, my son's supposed to get married. My French horn playing son, Joshua, is supposed to get married in July. So we're kind of, doing this. We'll see if it happens.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hopeful that we'll see. We'll have turned the corner by then, but it's hard to say. So I wish them the best.
Has anyone heard about the county fair?
No.
No.
I think personally, it's even if they open certain things up, they still want you to practice social distancing, and they still want you to, disinfect and all that. We've talked about the gallery, like when that comes to that point where they say, well, you can be open, but you need to disinfect after every person goes through. Well, I'm like, well, we can't do that. I mean, we just can't. There's too much stuff to touch, too much to see.
Right.
So it's just going to be a long process, and I honestly think we need to be prepared for that, and I'm fine with that. It would save lives. So
I too am fine with the long process. I'd rather err on the side of caution myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's only going to make it go longer if we don't do the right thing now.
Yeah,
I believe. My
financial advisor's grandmother died from COVID, and it's just. Let's be sane about this, honestly.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a very good point that if we rush to open things, if we rush to get people back into spaces where people gather, like even in your gallery, I think it would be difficult to keep people apart, and like you were saying, to sanitize after every person. I just think that we will be prolonging this insanity if we don't adhere to the social distancing measures now.
Yeah.
And continue to do so.
Yeah.
And there's going to be twists and turns. For instance, Kent County, Maryland, and Wicomico County, which for weeks had almost no cases. They are now hotspots. So the country as a whole, now it's flaring up in they say the Mississippi Valley, up and down the Mississippi and all the way to Canada. Those places are now. So the story has not been told yet.
No.
Mm.
So, well, Patti, we thank you.
Well, thanks for having me. It was just nice to chat. You know what? The thing I love is seeing people's faces, right? That's what I like. So,
Great to see you.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
We will survive and evolve. Great to see you.
We will.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I hope we evolve.
Evolving is part of the game plan, I think. So, All right. Well, thank you guys. But everybody be safe on your end, okay?
Yes. We're still being safe.
You too.
Okay. Bye, Patti.
Bye-bye.
And now it's just us chickens. Speaking of chickens, Rob, how are your goats?
The goats are great. I can send you a clip if you want. No, I can't. Well, I can't work my stuff, Doug. No surprise there. But I have a really good little 18-second film of the goats fighting for dominance on their little jungle gym I made them. I'll send it to you. Allison, you as well. Maybe I sent it to you already. I don't know. And I have my turtles too, eating. One turtle.
So if you have turtles, you have goats, you have a dog, do you have cats?
A very old cat, yeah. who only now is
I
starting
will
to
soon
back
have a
outside.
cat.
Huh?
That's right.
I will soon have a cat.
You have a cat?
I don't presently, but in a couple weeks I will be a new cat mom.
All right. Well, you have to
Yes.
bring your cat on TV.
Yes. Well, sometimes some of these cats
That's a great
just
idea.
sometimes cats just insert themselves in the wherever they like.
I
So-
went to the vet yesterday for the dog to see about getting him fixed. And you drive up to the vet, they open the window, they talk to you, have to come inside, you stand in a little square. Everybody has their mask on. They take the dog back, they took the cat back, and they had a poster that said, how to tell if your cat is trying to kill you. You know, had all these things. A funny little poster. It was interesting. Like, you know how the cats sleep on the steps? Like, so if it's dark and you want to step down that first step, there's a cat there. That kind of stuff.
Is your cat trying to kill you?
My cat has tried to kill me many times. Yeah, she'll sleep on that top step. And if you don't turn the light on, look out.
Yeah.
I hear growling.
So what?
Does somebody hear growling?
No.
I hardly hear anything, Doug.
That's strange. I'm not a big
Are you
fan.
hungry?
I had not been a big fan of cat videos, dog videos on Facebook, but there was one yesterday. Some little dog, probably a Labradoodle or something. This dog opened the door of its little cage, came out, adjusted the direction of a fan, and then went back in the cage and closed the door. How
Wow.
do you train a dog to do something so complex? That is incredible.
Labradoodles are real smart.
Are you thinking about getting one?
Yes.
No.
Oh
I
no,
got
not
Ziggy, that's
you.
enough.
Him.
Ziggy's 86 pounds, and he's just like a bull, you know? I
Yeah,
got
he
a
is.
video on him, too. I'm teaching him. I put like one of his little stuffed toys up on a tree branch and get him to walk on his hind legs and try and get it. That's a good video to send, too.
I know. He is a really
Yeah.
striking looking dog. He really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
you should send that video and we'll share it with our viewers.
I will. I'll send it. Well, I never know when I can send or make an attachment or whatever. I just don't know how to do it. But are we still on TV or are we done?
Oh, we're on TV.
Oh,
You bet.
well, I won't say what I was going to say then.
Don't say anything bad.
No,
Oh no, now
haven't
people
fulfilled
know
it
you're not a
Huh?
now people know you're not a tech genius.
They knew that. Anybody who knows me knows that.
Hmm.
I'm an outdoor kind of guy, and I will send videos of the dog, the goats, and the turtle.
Great.
So, Doug, we're possibly going to
Yes.
have Cecil Jamboree coming up soon.
Yes. You know, it seems an appropriate time to launch a new show, something other, not 30 at 6. Thursday will be the debut of the long-awaited Cecil Jamboree. Cecil Jamboree is a variety show, and it will have we will have a comic skit, and we will have at least, I believe, 2 musical acts, and possibly more. And some of these people will be performing from a distance. We'll put it that way. And
And it will be
Cool.
live, Doug.
excuse me?
It will be live.
It will be live. Some of it, the skit will be live, and And the music, at least one of the musical acts, will be live. And there we're going to make it as live as we can.
Well, you've inspired me. I'm going to come up with something for people who are staying at home to inspire them musically, I hope.
Yes.
Wonderful.
All right. So remember, that's Thursday, Cecil Jamboree, Thursday, 7 p.m.
Okay.
Should be lots of fun. And we could end here, but I don't know. We keep saying, we've mentioned it a few times, that the road ahead with this thing is really unknown. Especially, with half the people thinking, I want to go out, I want to get back to my life. The other half of the people thinking, it's scary, and that.
I don't think it's half the people.
Well, no, I'm just.
Who want to go out? I mean, everyone wants to go out, but I don't think it's half the people causing a ruckus over it.
It's a lot of work just to go to the grocery store if you want to stay safe.
It is. It truly is.
One thing I like is some gas stations, they have the little plastic gloves right by the gas pump.
Yes, I know. I noticed that at Wawa.
And I also unfortunately noticed that some of the grocery stores have stopped with the big stockpiles of wipes. You just got to go in and got to wear gloves.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, stay safe, everyone.
Yes.
All right. See you.
Well, thanks.
Bye.
Thanks.
Good show, Doug. I look forward to seeing it.
You're very welcome. And thank you to our viewers who've stuck with us this far. And until the next time.
Cecil County in the world.
Cecil County in the world. That's about all there is. Okay. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
See ya.